guys, it's Anglers from juststartrek.com, and today I'm going to continue the series on looking at the starships, and today it's USS Voyager. So I want to give you a little bit of history about who designed it. So it was designed by Rick Sternbach and Richard James, and they spent several months designing the ship. It's a smaller ship than the Enterprise D that had been seen before in the Next Generation. And the ship's motto that was engraved on its dedication plaque is from a poem by Tennyson, and it reads, "For I dipped into the future, far as the human eye could see, saw the vision of the world and all the wonder that would be." And I think that's a really nice poem to go with Voyager. So a few stats, facts and figures. It's an Intrepid class vessel, and it's launched in 2371 and is 343 metres in length with 15 decks and had a maximum warp velocity of 9.975. So it's a very quick ship. As well as the usual phaser arrays, it had 38 photon torpedoes and tri-cobalt devices. Although the ship actually fired around 85 torpedoes, so I'm not quite sure where the extra 50 came from, but they are a resourceful crew, so I'm sure that they managed to make some somehow. It also had a photonic cannon as a weapon, although this only featured once and it was hinted at by the EMH as opposed to a real weapon, but it's still made from watching. So it first appeared in Caretaker and it launched from DS9, which I thought was a nice handover because DS9 launched with the TNG crew, so it's almost like they're passing down the baton, and I think that's a really nice touch that the producers had there. And we first see the ship when Tom Paris is being piloted by Lieutenant Studdy in the shuttle, and it's almost like we're looking at the ship for the first time with Tom Paris, and I thought that was really well done. And it's a sleek looking ship, it's a beautiful looking ship. It has binaural circuitry, meaning that it can process things a lot quicker than normal isolinear ships. And I was speaking with the prop man extraordinaire Michael Moore, who said that the binaural gel packs were made of blue aloe gel, which looked really cool. But then when the studio lights were on the packs themselves, the heat would make them go black and mouldy and not so cool. So a little bit of interesting trivia there for you guys. Talking of blue things, they also debuted the blue alert in a ship, which we'd never seen before. And that meant that the ship could land on a planet. What? A ship landing on a planet? Yes, that's right. For the first time we see a Federation vessel land on a planet, and I thought that's a really cool thing for it to be able to do. Just out of curiosity, if any of you viewers can answer this question, the wave that knocked Voyager into the Delta Quadrant when they put it on the view screen looked extremely similar to the wave in Insurrection when the subspace tear was coming towards the Enterprise. If anyone can tell me if that is just the directors using the same effect, please let me know. So the shape of the ship. So this is Voyager, and this model is a very rare model. I think it was released in 1995, and it took me ages to find it. And you can see that the ship itself has a nice elliptical point to it, and I think it's a really nice shape for a ship. It just flows back nicely into the engineering section. And just one small little tidbit, and it may not necessarily be to do with the ship itself or more to do with the CGI, but whenever it passed over the screen towards the viewer, the deflector dish with the different little lines on the blue always looks a little bit fuzzy, and I'm not sure if that's to do with the CGI or not, and hopefully when it's rendered in HD and 4K it will look absolutely amazing. I loved it in one of the episodes, in Good Shepherd to be precise, when we went from the top of the ship up here in Janeway's ready room, and it went right through the ship, and we exited out the bottom here with crewman Mitchell down on deck 15, and it just showed the whole ship, and I thought that was a really cool shot that they had. It also has folding nacelles, which is unique for a starship, as we found out in the Next Generation that going above warp 5 damaged subspace, so they use variable geometry pylons, i.e. they fold, and that stops damaging subspace, so I thought that was pretty cool. And the styling of the interior and the colouring of the interior, it looked a lot newer than the Next Generation. They obviously spent a lot of time and money. I think it's one of the most expensive pilots to ever be shown on TV, and it just looked amazing. The styling of the L cars, the panels, it just looked phenomenal. Its warp effect. Now, it looks very much like the traditional warp rubber band effect where it's going off to warp, but my favourite warp effect of Voyager was when it was hit by species 8472, and it got hit once, which sent the ship tumbling around, and then Paris managed to climb back onto his console and enter in the command to go to warp, and you just see it recovering from the roll, and off it went. I thought that's a really, really cool effect. And then we have the engineering section, and I think it's a really cool design down there. They spent a lot of time and money down there, and it has a very different kind of warp core compared to the Next Generation, which we'd seen before, where you have the traditional pulses coming down. This one was more of a swirling effect. I call it the yogurt field spinning effect, because it just looked like lots of yogurt, different colours spinning together, but it did look really, really nice, but much different from what you'd seen before, which gave it that feeling of it being a very advanced, quick ship. You also had something which we hadn't seen really before, astrometrics, which was, I think, designed to put Jerry Ryan 7 of 9 somewhere. So astrometrics was a Borg enhanced sensor filled station room, and I thought that was really cool because they managed to put up some really nice graphics, especially of things that are coming up ahead, some planets, systems, etc, etc, routes home. And sometimes the camera would just sit there against the actor, and behind the scenes you would see the astrometric screen just scrolling across, moving from different angle, almost like a screensaver. I thought that was really nice. It also featured something called the Delta Flyer, which we're going to cover in a future video. And the Delta Flyer was a very cool shuttle, which was designed to be a little bit more advanced than your traditional Type 9 shuttle, which they had on Voyager. And it's a marriage of Starfleet and Borg engineering, which was designed by Tom Paris. But we're going to cover that in a future video, but it's worth a mention. It's a really cool shuttle. The ship saw some serious action in the Delta Quadrant. For 7 years, it faced the Borg, the Hirogen, Species 8472, Neelix's dodgy cheese, which destroyed some of the binaural gel packs, and even the Krenin time ship. Although, by going back in time, did it actually face them? Did they have all that damage? Not quite sure. That's a time paradox you can perhaps discuss below. But you name it, Voyager could handle it, and it's a tough little ship. It wasn't designed to be necessarily a deep space long range mission ship, but it could handle everything that was thrown at it, so full credit to it. She even crash landed on a frozen planet in one of the episodes, which was a very cool episode, no pun intended. It had, in the final episode, enhanced armour given to the crew by a future Admiral Janeway, which gave it almost like a Batmobile armour effect. I felt that they could have done that a little bit better, but there it is. But one thing that did not irritate me as such, but they could have dealt with it a little bit better, in the fact that every week, even after extensive damage, it would just be the same pristine ship inside and out. Come on guys, it's out there for 7 years, it's been in countless battles, they've had so many problems. Give it some weathering, give it some damage. They did do it with the two-parter with the Krenin time ship and other series, but it's only a couple of episodes. It would have been nice to see an evolution of the ship, perhaps wearing down, having problems, etc, etc. But that's just a small little niggle for me. So the final time we saw Voyager in action was when she arrived back at Earth. Oh, big spoiler alert there, but I think you know by now, with a fleet to greet her. And I feel that it was almost like a wasted opportunity here, because we never really found out what happened to the crew or the ship. It's almost like, right, we're home now, that's it, game over. We know what happened to Captain Janeway. She got promoted to an admiral, as we saw in Nemesis, but we didn't find out what happened to any of the crew. How the people on Earth, reunions and things like that. So I feel it's almost like we could have done with another 20-30 minutes of the final episode of Voyager, just to wrap things up nicely. But that's a small niggle, and yeah, generally speaking, the ship did very, very well. I presume it went off to some kind of museum where people would look at it and admire it for what it went through. So yeah, that's my summary of USS Voyager. Please leave your comments below. Look forward to discussing more about Voyager with you and why you like the ship. Click subscribe, and I've got a lot more reviews coming your way. Live long and prosper.